All right, so we are going to document what we do with ribs here in the house on this Memorial Day. I just want to first recognize the sacrifice that our servicemen and women have made to this country. Incredible sacrifice, and although we are enjoying some ribs here, we want to recognize that they made the ultimate sacrifice. I'm able to do this because of them. So what I've done here is these ribs have been soaking in something called, let me just get this, sorry about the weird camera angles here. We've got, and this I bought in Miami, but you can get them in other places. Mojo, or mojito as we call it in the Cuban community, and what's called naranja agria, which is sour orange. And these are two marinades that we use in the Hispanic community. So these ribs were soaking. Obviously I prepared them. I cut the rack in half to make it a little easier to cut to maneuver, and I put them in Ziploc bags, soaking in that in combination of those two marinades. And then after a couple of hours, it's probably a good idea to keep them overnight, but I didn't have a lot of time. Got the ribs this morning, so they soak in there for a couple of hours, and then I took them out. And let me go ahead and get the other spices that I use, and I didn't use too much, but I'll show you in a second. And so basically I used some garlic powder. So I put some garlic powder on them, and I use this rub. It's called Fox Brothers Barbecue. I have, I don't have any financial claim to these guys. This is what I picked up in Publix. It's a local company here in Georgia, in Atlanta. And there are other rubs that I use. I use Rubomine, which is a nice rub. I also use a coffee rub. But basically, I'm using this rub today. But this is basically what I put on these as a rub. I also sometimes use black pepper. I didn't have any black pepper, so hey, we're not putting the black pepper in there. But just generally, you want to season them up the way you like. Another thing that I do with these ribs is I cut them halfway here, and I do that just to make it easier to cut later on. And then we'll go on to actually cooking them. The next step is going to be to turn on the grill, get the grill up to a nice temperature, and then we're going to stick these on there to brown them at first. Okay, there's like a 3-step process to my madness here, and you'll see it in a moment. All right, so this is the next step in the process here. I've got a Weber grill. This is a propane gas grill, and I go ahead and turn these suckers on, and I set this on high for right now. And just to give you an idea of how this is going to go, I set these on high. I do not smoke them because honestly smoking on the gas grill is not the greatest, but I go ahead and set these on high, and I've already kind of cleaned these grates off a little bit, and I wait till the temperature is somewhere around between 400 and 500, and I'm going to stick these ribs on here in indirect heat, which means I'm going to turn off probably one or two of these. Probably I'll turn these off, and then I'll leave this one going, which will give us a temperature somewhere between 300 and 400. Don't want to have it too high because you don't want to burn them. You don't want to brown them too much, but I do want to brown the ribs at first, and then you'll see the next process, which will be to stick them into tin foil for a while. And there's a process for that I've gotten pretty good at. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to give it some time for this to heat up a little bit, and then we're going to stick these ribs in there. All right, so here we are. And you see I've got the temperature up to 500 here. I've got my ribs, and I've got my tools of the trade here, which honestly all I need is the tongs and the fork maybe, but honestly probably just the tongs. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off 2 of these because I don't need that much fire, just need some heat. And what I'm going to do, see, I've got plenty of heat going on there, but I want it to actually cool down a little bit. But I wanted to get the grates nice and hot. And then what I'm going to do is going to stick these guys here, and I'll probably move them around a little bit, but basically I'm just going to leave them in there for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, not that much. I'm really just trying to brown them, okay? Now, why do I brown them first? Good question. Not that you asked, but you may have been thinking of it. The reason I brown it is because I've got a rub on here. And because I've got a rub, I don't want that rub melting off when I do the next process, which is going to use pineapple juice, butter, barbecue sauce, and stick them in some tin foil. So I don't want that that rub to just melt off in that process. So I'm browning them here so that rub sticks on there and stays on there throughout the process, and I don't lose any of it. There will be some browning afterwards as well, but that's mostly for caramelizing barbecue sauce. So let me go ahead and close this. You see that it quickly went down to about 200 and something degrees. I'll be happy if this stays around 300 with indirect heat. And you notice I put the ribs on the side that did not have direct heat. So obviously it's good to have a decent grill that has a couple of burners at least that you can turn one off. Weber makes an excellent grill. Of course, I'm not an employee or anything of Weber. I'm just, hey, I like Weber. Last thing to say, just to give you some ideas on times, because I know times is something that everybody wants to know. How long, what temperature, all that stuff, right? So here's the idea, and I've pretty much perfected this. I'm using St. Louis spare ribs, but you can always use baby back ribs. The times are pretty much the same. I brown them for a total of 30 minutes, 15 minutes on each side. Then I'll do the next process, which is to put them in the tin foil. I'll stick them back in the grill for 90 minutes. Okay, after 90 minutes, take them out of the tin foil, stick them back on the grill on indirect heat, throw some barbecue sauce on both sides, and that process is 30 minutes. So you're going to have ribs in 2.5 hours. And if you maintain the temperatures that I tell you, you don't even have to check it. It's done. Okay? All right, so let's go on. Let's go on to the next process, which is to wait about 10-15 minutes here and then turn them over. All right, so it's getting to be about the time to turn them over, and you see the temperature there, a little bit above 300, which is kind of what I want for the browning process. And I'm going to go ahead and use my tongs. Let's see what these guys look like. Okay, I'm going to turn them over now. And by the way, burned a little bit there. I don't like that, but it's not too bad. Yeah, so this is good. is good. You can see that the rub is kind of getting in there, which is what I want. And browned it. It's all right, a little crunchy, but that's okay. And now I'm going to leave them on there for another 10-15 minutes. By the way, part of the process here is that when you apply the rub, you want to do some olive oil or vegetable oil to let the rub also stick on there. But the other benefit is that when you stick them on the grill, they don't stick as much to the grill because you got that oil in there. All right, so I'm going to stick these down here, and that's probably going to get up to about 300 something, which is what I want. And we'll wait another 15 minutes and we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll start the process with the tinfoil. All right, so we are back. It's been another 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and open this up. Actually, 1 second. Sorry, I've forgotten my container there to put them back in. Let's go ahead and look at these ribs now. And what I expect is that on the other side, they will have cooked a little bit. Let's see what they look like. Yeah, that's what I expect. You could see that they're cooking a little bit. And then I'm going to put this in here. Let's turn this one over. And yeah, that's pretty much what I expect here. Cooked a little bit. And then those are going to go in there. The next step is going to go to back in and stick these guys in tin foil. There's a process for that, and we'll go over that next. All right, so here's the next process here. We've got our ribs. I've got some tin foil here. 4 pieces. 2 pieces of ribs, 4 pieces of tin foil. I've got some pineapple juice. I've got my Sticky Fingers barbecue, some butter, and a spoon. Okay, so here's the process. What we're going to do here is we're going to create kind of a boat here. Kind of like a little thing here. Sorry, I'm doing this with one hand. But the idea is we're going to put some pineapple juice in here. We don't want it to spill out. So let's... Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stick some butter, some barbecue sauce. Then we're going to stick the piece of rib in there. We're going to put some pineapple juice, and then we're going to close it up. All right, so first things first. Let's get a little bit of butter in here. One-handed. Should be good enough. Give me a second. All right, couldn't do the butter one-handed, so I needed to hold the butter container. So here you can see the amount of butter in there, which is a pretty good amount of butter. And then we want to do, so after the butter, we want to do a little bit of barbecue sauce in here. And then we want to stick our ribs. Okay, meat side down. The next step is to pour some pineapple juice in there. Don't need a ton of pineapple juice, but you just want to get it nice and wet in there. Let's put a little bit more pineapple juice. And then the next part, I'm going to do this off camera because it's a little hard to do with one hand. So I stick the tin foil on there, and I'm gonna wrap it up nice and tight. All right, so this is my wrapped up pieces of rib that are gonna go in here. And these are gonna go back on the grill. You'll see how I do it in a second. All right, so we're at 300 degrees, a little over, but that's actually the perfect temperature. 300 degrees is the perfect temperature for this next process. So next process is very simple. These ribs with the tin foil are gonna go on there. And this is gonna go in here for 90 minutes at 300 degrees. Indirect heat. I've only got one burner on, and then in 90 minutes we'll come back and start the next process. So one last thing that I wanted to mention about these ribs. Remember I said earlier that I'm using St. Louis spare ribs. There's a reason why I use these or baby back ribs and not beef ribs. Beef ribs tend to not have as much meat on them, on the bone, at least the ones that I can get here at Publix or another grocery store. But I tried them once, and although the process was pretty much the same, they cooked just as well. They just weren't as tasty. So I would definitely suggest using St. Louis spare ribs or pork baby back ribs for this process. And if you use this process that I'm going, like I said before, there's no need to check temperature. Obviously you have to check temperature, but there's no reason to adjust temperature if you use a similar barbecue that can maintain 300 degrees. And no need to check the temperature of the meat. All you really need to do is keep the temperature of the barbecue and follow the times that I'm giving you and the process, and just trust the process, man. Trust the process. So we'll see what happens in 90 minutes. See ya. Wanted to give a little bit of an update. So I'm still in the process of cooking these in tin foil, and the temperature had gotten up a little high, gotten up to about 350, and it was just a little too high. So one thing I wanted to tell you is that if you find that over time you want to be checking this and you want to try to keep it at 300 degrees, it's not like it's a problem if it goes over 300, because I mean they're just boiling in tinfoil, but you do want to keep it around 300, or else your times may be a little off as far as the cooking of the ribs. So I lowered it just a little bit, so it's not at full strength here. Just lowered it to maybe 2/3 for the last half hour or so that I can try to keep it at 300. So that's just something to be aware of. You want to try to keep the temperature around 300 degrees. And we'll be back in about 20 minutes or so for the next part of the process. All right, so let's review. We're at 300 degrees, which is what we wanted. We got one burner on. Okay. Got some barbecue sauce here. All right. And we're 90 minutes in cooking these in tin foil. So to review the whole process, we've got 30 minutes at first to brown them a little bit, cook them a little bit, 15 minutes on each side. Then we went and added these ribs with pineapple juice, barbecue sauce and butter, stuck them in the tin foil, and then we've had them in here for 90 minutes. The next process is we're going to take these out of here, and we're going to take them out of the tin foil, stick them back in there, and apply some barbecue sauce for 30 minutes, and then we're going to be done. So let's get let's get her done here. So I'm going to take my fork, and this is going to be a messy process. I really don't care. I just clean it up later. But I'm going to open this guy up so we can see what we've got in here. And as you can tell, when I open this up, you can see how the meat has separated from the bone, because it's been kind of basically boiling in here. All right. Now, technically, I could serve them right now. Problem is, I don't want to do that because you can see how it's separated from the bone. And I have to be very, very careful. And I don't really want them to be... I want it to harden up a little bit. And honestly, they may have separated a little too much here. But we'll put this back on the grill. And then we'll put some barbecue sauce on them, and we'll see how they come out, okay? I'm going to stop for a moment and get these on the grill, and then I'll come back. All right, so here's our ribs. I actually lost a couple of bones here because they're so soft, but that's okay. Meat's still good, and this is what we got left, and I just kind of dump that into the grass and clean it up later. All right, so the next process here is we're going to take our barbecue sauce and slather it on these ribs here. Get a good amount of barbecue sauce on here. And the idea is to caramelize the barbecue sauce, but at the same time, I want to harden the meat just a little. I don't want it to be so fall off the bone that it's like ridiculous. So basically, I will get some barbecue sauce on here, and then I'll let it sit for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then I'll go in and do another round of barbecue sauce. And I'm doing the barbecue sauce on the top, and I'm not going to turn it over. And the reason I'm not going to turn it over is because I don't want the barbecue sauce burning or sticking to the grates. That would not be a good thing. We want the barbecue sauce to just kind of sit there and caramelize, get thick. Okay, so there we go. So this is just going to go down here. And I do want a little bit more heat, so I'm going to turn up the burner all the way, even if it gets up to 350 degrees. That's quite all right. And we'll be back in about 15 minutes. All right, so we're at 15 minutes here. We're going to check out, see how that barbecue sauce has been caramelizing, and then probably add some more. All right, so here you go. You can see that it's no longer as liquidy. Caramelized a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add some more because, I mean, there's a couple of things you can never have enough of, right? One is garlic, and the other one is barbecue sauce. Just kidding about that, but not really. So, I'm gonna add some more barbecue sauce on here. And we can see how nice our ribs are coming out. And they're not going to be as fall off the bone because I put them back in here. But they're going to be fall off the bone enough that they're going to be nice and soft. Now, of course, if you don't like barbecue sauce on your ribs, you don't have to have barbecue sauce. You can just throw them back on here and let them finish hardening up a little bit. No barbecue sauce and you're good. Some people do actually smoke their ribs on the gas grill. I have found that no matter how I do it, I really don't get the same smoky flavor that I get on a charcoal barbecue. So I don't try anymore, honestly. I had some chips that I would put under here on under one of these grates, and I'd get some smoke going on at the beginning, and I would do that in the first 30 minutes when I was browning them. And then after all that work, I realized that they weren't that smoky anyway. So I just gave up on the whole smoking thing and just did my best at cooking them really well, applying the right spices and marinade and all that. All right, so we've got plenty of barbecue sauce on here. And I'm going to leave them back on there for another 10 or 15 minutes. And then the next time you see these, I will pull them off, let them sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, cut them up into individual ribs, and we'll finish this series, this video. All right, so we should be ready. As you can see, I'm still at 300 degrees more or less. And if I open this up, yeah, those are definitely done. You see what those look like? Barbecue sauce has marbleized on there. Nice, very nice. So we're gonna take these ribs and bring them into our kitchen. It's 1/2 of a rack. Now this one was really fall off your bone. There, you lost another bone. Oh well. I don't usually lose so many bones, but I guess in this case they were really soft when I took them out of the tin foil. But as you can see, those ribs look pretty nice. Okay. So the next process here is I'm going to bring them inside. Let's turn off the grill here. Always turn off your gas because you want to be safe. I'm going to bring them inside. I'm going to cut the individual ribs and we'll get a little taste and see how they came out. All right, so this is the end, okay? And basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these ribs a little bit. You see how easily they cut. This meat is so tender. Okay. Don't want them falling off the plate here. This is literally fall off the bone. But still tough enough that they're nice. So go ahead and cut this. Guess I should have got a bigger plate. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a little piece of the rib here and taste it. Of course, I know what you're going to say. It's his ribs. He's not going to say they taste bad, right? But this is what we've got here, fully cooked. Absolutely delicious. And I know you know I was going to say that, but it really is delicious. So, to review, while I cut this, temperature in the grill, 300 degrees the whole time, or as close to 300 degrees as you can get. We want to marinate your ribs, preferably overnight, but at least for a couple of hours. You saw that I marinated mine with something called naranja agria, or sour orange, along with mojito. Then you want to season your ribs. I used garlic and a rib that was local here, a rub that was local here, but you can choose whatever seasoning you like. Then first 30 minutes, you want to stick them on the grill, 15 minutes on each side at 300 degrees, indirect heat, to get that rub to stick onto the ribs. Then you want to take them off, put them in the tin foil like I showed you with butter, barbecue sauce, and pineapple juice. 90 minutes back on the grill in the tin foil, then off of the tin foil, back onto the grill to 2 applications of barbecue sauce, 15 minutes each. So final 30 minutes and you're done. I hope you enjoy. I hope your ribs come out as nice as these. Thank you.